All right. Hello and welcome to Bigskybits. I'm your host Colby, and today we'll be going over some of the things that's happened in the last week. I've been pretty busy with repairing one of the fourplexes. Had a little bit of subfloor damage and had to replace quite a few tiles. A lot of yard work involved as well. So slowly getting that done. Should be back to a regular process. I'm going to try to figure out how I can get up just a hair earlier and really get these going on a more regular basis. Quite hard to find the time, especially as summer's coming up and needing more of that time for other jobs. But with that, let's get into it. We've had quite an exciting week or so in Bitcoin as we've seen Bitcoin shoot up close to old all-time highs, and we'll get into price in a moment. If you like this content and want more of it, please like and subscribe. Head on over to either YouTube or Rumble. We'll be moving more episodes to other platforms here shortly. I've heard X and some of the podcast things on Apple are also where I should be, so we'll look into that here shortly. With that, you can also head on over to my website, bigskybits.com, for some newsletters, information about recent episodes, and a lot more going on. So, with that, let's go check out the price action. Currently, we are sitting about 104. We hit 105 earlier. Kind of moving around. XRP's on a big tear this morning. Don't quite know what that means. Still a bit away from their all-time high, but closing in within a few percentage. So we're seeing that one as one of the bigger gainers. We're also seeing Ethereum finally catching up after a lot of lagging behind the last couple of years. I think the big takeaway is when we look at Bitcoin dominance, how much it's dropped. We're down almost 3% in the last 2-3 days. And many people are pointing towards altcoin season. And I just like to remind everyone that when altcoin season happens, if it happens, it is quick and brutal. It'll shoot up and then shoot down just as quick. So for me, this might be more of a scary sign. The fact that dominance is declining so rapidly, so quickly, unless we see a big bounce against other things, I really think this could spell the end of this bull run. And after this fall, late summer, hopefully we see a bit of a boost for the next couple months. But this could be a sign that the bull run is over and we're still remaining in that traditional 4-year cycle. The picture for today is a toxic bag of steaming shit coins. And that goes more to the point as I was watching Ivan this morning and he was referring to fiat as the original meme coin, and then they go on to rip on fiat and how horrible it is. And I agree. But then in the same episodes, they're pumping meme coins. I do not understand that. Then go pump fiat if that's what you believe in. They all know it's garbage and it's just gambling, but yet these people spend considerable resources and time because they know this brings in clicks, and most people are degenerate gamblers and they just want to know the next sports pick for the day. So keep that in mind whenever you're taking advice or listening to anybody, that they often have an ulterior motive. My ulterior motive, almost state clearly, I want people to get into Bitcoin and use it as energy for their homes. Heat your homes with it. Support our financial system. Use this energy to further humanity. As humanity evolves, we continually use more and more energy, and we're coming up with more efficient ways to get energy, and Bitcoin will be this sink for the energy. Where energy can be put into it and you get some sort of output rather than letting it sit idly by. And countries like Bhutan are already realizing this with their huge hydroelectric dams that were supplying power for a relatively small population. They've been able to acquire a huge amount of Bitcoin using that energy and mining Bitcoin, while also supporting a financial system that I truly believe in, that I think will change mankind for the better. Now, moving on to some of the big events. Towards the end of the month, we're going to have the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Las Vegas. Already scheduled are, I believe, some of Trump's children, Trump Jr. and maybe Eric are going to be speaking there. Not quite sure. I also heard Ross Albright will be there. And my problem with Ross is, I understand he got a shitty deal. His sentence seemed a bit exorbitant. They were trying to really make an example out of him. There was a lot of corruption, a lot of shady stuff. But the guy still facilitated a very illegal website. And for the Bitcoin community to put him up on this pedestal and make a martyr out of him really seems like we're putting our energy in the wrong place. And I see a lot of people doing this from all segments of society, pushing Ross Albright as some freedom fighter. He is not along the same lines as Snowden or Assange. These are different types of situations, and I wish the Bitcoin community would look at it a little more objectively and look at who we're putting forward as the face, because I don't believe he puts forward a great face. So I will be in Vegas during this time to play at the poker tournament that Tone Vase is hosting at Unconfiscatable. I believe he still has a few more tickets if anyone's interested in joining us. And yeah, it's great to see Las Vegas hosting and going to be embracing the Bitcoin conference. Moving on from there, talking about states and their acceptance of Bitcoin. Last week we also saw in Arizona the Bitcoin Reserve legislation passed both the House and Senate, largely along party lines, and then it was vetoed by the governor of Arizona, again along party lines. So it's kind of sad to see Bitcoin getting politicized in some of these states in this way, especially when it's something that can help both sides and kind of create more transparency in our government so we don't have such loose accountability. Bitcoin can change a lot of this and give us more transparency. I hope this becomes less politically motivated and people can look at it for what it really is and helping the citizens of those states. So we have another state, New Hampshire, that's quite on the way to legalizing a Bitcoin reserve. My home state of Montana shot it down very early in one of the first committees. Again, I don't think people really understand what it can do for society. A lot of people are looking at it as purely an investment vehicle, and that's fine. Most people only experience Bitcoin as an investment vehicle. Now, people in struggling economies and struggling countries will use it for what it's meant for. Just how I got into it, because it fulfilled a need and I see the service that Bitcoin can provide. I think we'll see that in more and more people who are in need and need to escape either censorship or authoritarian regimes. So Bitcoin's use case is very evident, but it won't be seen it becomes more evident in times of crisis or times of hardship. And people are seeing this, and we're seeing quite a bit of growth around the world. So we'll pay attention more to as the states adopt and look at Bitcoin legislation. On that note, we'll head over and just quickly look at Reddit's discussion of Bitcoin, even though Reddit is slowly becoming a steaming cesspool of nonsense with very, very little actual discussion. The Bitcoin sub used to have a lot of technical stuff. Now it's a lot of, do I hold enough Bitcoin? Is this what's going to happen? Now, some of the common conversations are more about quantum resistance, and I think that's an important discussion. I was listening to a conversation the other day, and a lot of people made the argument that, sure, large corporations will be affected if SHA-256 is broken, but they, as a public corporation, would be able to shift and make the necessary arrangements to save their company from total disaster. And they look at Bitcoin as not having that ability. And I would disagree with that. We have the ability to rewind things, to go back to a separate block, to start a whole new chain, to create quantum resistant schemes that work within Bitcoin. Will it be messy? Will it be hard? Yes, but so would, if any type of encryption was broken to that level, how it would affect our financial systems currently, it would be catastrophic. But the main point is there is resilience there. It can adapt, it can evolve to these situations such as quantum computing. So I just encourage people to look deeper into some of these issues. We have talked about them ad nauseum, and there's quite a bit of information out there for those willing to look. Unlike the Bitcoiners who hear a story and run with, or Buttcoiners who hear a story and run with it and don't really look into any of the technical possibilities, and that's fine. Like we've always said, people get into Bitcoin at the price they deserve. One of the biggest things that's happened lately is Core had removed the OPSEC returns data limit. They removed some of the limits, but I mean the block is still limited in how much space the block can actually take up, but it's hard. You'd have to do more research into it. I've read quite a bit on both camps. Some say the spam is already in there, but then I would argue that spam came with us opening up the original. Having this soft fork we had a few years ago opened up a lot of these abilities to put links or graphics on the blockchain. And some of the other concerns about it are people are worried it'll fill up the blockchain more. It'll incentivize people to put more garbage on there, causing fees to rise. And other people have said, hey, this is a fair use of the chain and people can do as they think. So, I don't know, we'll have to pay more attention to it, but this, again, goes to show how malleable the Bitcoin protocol is. If there are issues, we can create patches and resolve these issues democratically. I mean, Bitcoin has many mechanisms that allow the nodes to vote and to continue down a path that people think is right. We have seen different paths emerge. Bitcoin Cash, Satoshi's vision. Now, most of these forks came out of greed, in my opinion. People trying to take over the Bitcoin protocol. Now, with every type of change in the protocol, people should be very wary and look into it. And one of the main things I've seen people moving over to is an implementation of Bitcoin that the nodes use, and they've been moving over to knots. And we'll do an in-depth dive into what the knots protocol does for Bitcoin and what it allows users to do. We'll get into that in another episode. But this is interesting. I did not read this, that Vivek Ramaswamy, someone who I think is a very intelligent person and who I've listened to in person and met personally, he is a very intelligent guy, and it's interesting to see this treasury company he's working with to create a Bitcoin reserve. And we've seen a few companies recently do that, much in the vein of MicroStrategy or Metaplanet, the Japanese version. We've seen quite a few companies want to copy this investment strategy and make a name for themselves. So we'll see how that pans out. I also have a quick shout out to one of our viewers and a longtime buddy of mine, Nick. I'm hoping you're loving your new house, and I miss you already, buddy, and I hope you're having a great time. I know the dogs are probably really enjoying it. So take care. And to everyone else, this was a great episode. I have a lot of love for all of you. Take care. Make sure to DYOR, do your own research. Nothing in Bitcoin is a given. None of the statements, take it all with a grain of salt and do your own research. And with that, I'm going to leave you to go. And please, someone, grab some of this money. Numerous times I leave money up here on these websites and no one even, are on these videos, and no one comes and grabs it for weeks on end until I tell a closer personal friend or a friend of a relative or something. So, as my viewers, please enjoy it. I understand even the skepticism scanning a QR code. So if that's your hesitation, that's good too. You should be very skeptical of everything. And with that, we'll return to some music, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.